Let's bring back David Faber, who joins us now with Vista Equity Partners CEO Robert Smith. Vista launching a new enterprise AI inference cloud at Intel Computex. David.
Thank you, Leslie. That's right.
Take it away.
Quite an interesting morning here.
Yeah.
Obviously navigating various things and obviously some key news as well. But very happy to have Robert Smith, of course, founder, CEO of Vista Equity Partners, with us this morning. And Robert, let me just start off there, because as often I find is the case when you and I are talking, I need you to try to explain what it is we're talking about. So vector core compute and the VC2, I mean, what exactly is it and what problem does it solve?
Sure, thanks, and good to see you, and thanks for inviting me on. On my way back from Taiwan, where we announced with our partners a new company, Vector Core Compute. You and I have been talking for some time about how we have been converting enterprise software companies to agentic enterprise solutions. But when you agentify enterprise software, the agents that are then deployed need inference, which is a compute quantum, a compute capacity. And what we found, and many companies are finding this, is as these agents kind of work 24/7, 365, they start to use a fair amount of inference. And so the cost of inference is going up. And so we needed a solution that was more sustainable for our software companies. And in essence, that's what this platform is designed to do. It's designed to deliver the lowest cost per token that can make enterprise AI viable at scale.
All right, right. So I'm reading here about it. Obviously, I think one way to say that is rather than forcing one chip type to do everything inefficiently, you disaggregate it and let each processor sort of do what it does best. And that gets to this whole idea of cost, which we've been talking about a lot, Robert. Companies suddenly realizing, wait a second, what am I spending on compute? Is that what you're trying to get at right here?
Exactly, and you've been doing your homework, so I'm happy to hear that. The thing that's important is as we are driving more productivity across our company, a way to preserve the margins of the enterprise software companies and not have all the margins accrete ultimately to the inference providers is to actually build a low-cost inference. This one has a disaggregated set of chips. It uses GPUs in the one context, RDUs, which are part of a stack from Samba Nova, which is one of our partners, and other componentry provided by Intel, CPUs as well, that actually give us ability to deliver this inference at a very high throughput at a very low cost, because these chips are air-cooled. And so it has less power consumption, which obviously provides a lot more attractive opportunity for us to deliver the low-cost inference and actually make it a little more palatable, I think, for the communities that these clouds will be installed in.
Yeah, all right. Well, is this a new business then? I just want to try and understand what it means for Vista itself, for our viewers' understanding. You guys, manage still $110 billion in assets. We know he's obviously buying and owning a lot of software companies, software as a service. Is this a new effort in terms of hardware, Robert?
What it really is it is enabling our enterprise software companies to have a sustainable future in an agentic world. These enterprise software companies, as you and I have talked in the past, they're going to become either agentic, what we call rule of 70, highly profitable, or they don't have a right to exist. And as they become agentic, or the highly profitable ones, they use agents. And so we wanted to ensure that we had low-cost access to inference that's sustainable, so we can continue to capture the economic opportunity for our portfolio companies and inflect positively the terminal value of those businesses. So it is an enablement, and it's not an abandonment of enterprise software. It's an enablement of enterprise software to become agentic and highly profitable going forward.
Right. All right. Well, on that note, of course, and you and I have had this discussion, but it continues. We see, for example, an evergreen private equity fund out of Switzerland that had to cut back redemptions. There continues to be concern about exposure in private equity portfolios, including Vista's, to what is seen as this disintermediation from the likes of Codex and Claude. Is this going to be the key for you to sort of preventing that kind of a potentially negative future for many of your portfolio companies?
Again, it's an enablement piece of it. Agentic software, enterprise solutions require, again, context. We believe those enterprise software companies that have context and trust and scale have the right to win, and those incumbents have the right to win. But the markets want to see proof points. And now that we've delivered, again, 54 companies out of our 93 that are actually agentic, we want to ensure that we can preserve the margin that comes from creating these more efficient enterprise software solutions companies, these agentic enterprise solutions. So it is another component we believe is essential to inflecting what we call the terminal value of these businesses long term.
And are you going to be rolling this thing out? Is this just, I mean, how far does this effort go? Back to sort of the original question.
Yeah, we stood up the first data centers actually in Los Angeles. We have another 50 sites in the U.S. We have another 40 or so we've identified internationally. And because these are what we call brownfield conversions, these things are, we go into existing data centers and actually can convert. The power component of this is about equivalent to a CPU data center. So about 1/10, actually 1/15 in many cases, the power consumption of some of the liquid-cooled data centers. So we convert these in months and not years, and have the ability to then distribute those across multiple locations where latency is important, and deliver high-quality inference to our portfolio companies and our portfolio companies' customers. Some of our customers want these solutions on premise, and we have the ability to do that. So that is the intention and the plan, and we are in the process of rolling that out today.
Yeah, well, obviously very important to cut those compute costs, and for the companies as well to figure out where they're exactly spending the money. Finally, Robert, let me just end on a broader question, if I can. As somebody who's been so involved in technology and in allocating capital to technology, I spent the day Monday at a Stargate data center. $50 billion is going to go into this thing ultimately. Yeah. And I just continue to wonder about the ultimate return on that invested capital. How are you thinking about this unique moment we're in, where there's just one, that's one of so many around the country consuming maybe 1.4 gigawatts of power, and then the capital markets themselves. Just give me sort of a quick take here from your vantage point as to how unique this moment is, and whether it's actually all that invested capital is going to get a return.
Yeah, there's again, of course, some questions around it. There's massive productivity. We're seeing, call it productivity in our companies every day, moving to agentic solutions. But as you said, it's a function of, can you do it profitably, and can you do it in a way where it doesn't impact communities negatively? You're seeing some backlash in various communities where they're now saying, no, we don't want mega campuses. We don't want any grid burden on our communities, which is why we think this is, again, an ideal solution to support not only our companies, but our companies' customers. So, look, I think there's going to be, as we talked before, David, different equilibrium states in different places that this will end up. But we think for enterprise agentic solutions, this is sustainable. It creates massive productivity. It's going to have an inflection in returns for our portfolio companies. When we went from on-prem to cloud, we saw about a 2.5 times economic rent pickup. This can be an order of magnitude higher, so much higher returns to our customers.
So you're in the middle of that inflection now then, Robert? Is that inflection happening, or is it still to come?
We are seeing it across our portfolio companies. But again, our companies are private, and at some point in time, certain of these companies will be exposed to the public markets, and the public market buyers will have an opportunity to experience it and be a part of it.
All right. It gets back to my earlier conversation with Paul Taubman about exits for private equity. Robert, always appreciate you taking some time. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Robert Smith.